I killed my best friend with a single song. Not with bullets or blades, but with words wrapped in melody that stripped her bare in front of the world she clawed her way into. She thought she could bury me alive under her lies, frame me for the embezzlement that built her empire. But I rose from the grave she dug, microphone in hand, and sang the truth until her crown of thorns bled out. And in that moment, as the spotlight burned her secrets into the spotlight's glare, I wondered if vengeance tasted sweeter than the forgiveness I'd once begged for. The rain hammered Chicago like God's own judgment that night in late October, turning the streets into rivers of regret. I huddled under the awning of our old apartment building on the edge of Wicker Park, the one we'd shared fresh out of community college, back when dreams were cheap and betrayal was just a word in a bad romance novel. Brinley Harper, that's me. If you haven't guessed, 28. Broke. And boiling with a fury that had simmered for 3 years. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it. It was probably Mom again, checking if I'd eaten, oblivious to the storm raging inside me.
Inside.
The lobby smelled like stale coffee and desperation, the kind that clings to broke millennials scraping by in a city that chews you up and spits out your bones. I punched the elevator button, watching the numbers crawl like they were allergic to speed. When the doors finally dinged open, there she was, Elena Vasquez, my former ride-or-die, perched on the worn velvet couch like she owned the place. Her legs crossed in those designer heels she'd bought with my money, stolen from the nonprofit fund I'd slaved over. Her dark hair was swept into a chignon that screamed boardroom boss babe. And her smile?
Oh.
That smile was a weapon, sharp as the switchblade she'd once pulled on a mugger to save my ass. Bryn, baby, there you are. She rose, arms open like we were still sisters in arms. Not the Judas and the ghost I'd become. I was starting to worry. Traffic from the Loop is a bitch this time of night. I didn't hug her. I just stood there, dripping rainwater onto the faded Persian rug, my thrift store trench coat sagging like my resolve. You look good, Elena. Prison stripes would have clashed with your vibe, I guess. Her laugh tinkled like wind chimes in a hurricane forced, but pretty. Always with the drama. Come on, let's get you dry. I made margaritas. Extra salt. Just how you like, Em. Up in the apartment, my apartment. Technically, since she'd ghosted the lease after the fallout, we settled into the kitchen that hadn't changed since our ramen and reality TV days. The walls were still plastered with faded Polaroids, us at Lollapalooza. Mud-caked and euphoric, us in graduation caps. Arms slung around each other's necks. Lies frozen in time. She poured the drinks, her manicured nails catching the light from the single bulb overhead, and slid one across the chipped Formica counter. So, she said, sipping hers with that calculated casualness, how's the job hunt? Still temping at that soul-sucking ad agency. I swirled the salt rim, tasting the grit on my lip. It's fine. Pays the bills. Unlike some people who steal from kids' cancer funds to fund their little startups. Elena's glass paused midair, her eyes narrowing just a fraction, enough for me to see the crack in her armor. Brinley, we talked about this. It was a misunderstanding. The board cleared me. You know that. Cleared her? Bullshit. 3 years ago, I discovered the discrepancies in the books at Heartbeat Heroes, the nonprofit we'd co-founded for pediatric oncology support. Missing funds, forged signatures, trails that led straight to her. But when the auditors came, it was my name on the dummy accounts, my social security number tied to the offshore transfers. She'd framed me clean as a whistle, whispering to the cops that I'd cracked under the pressure, that I'd always been unstable. I did 6 months in Cook County Jail, the kind of hell that turns optimism into obsidian. Released on a technicality, some clerks fuck up in the chain of custody, but my reputation? Shredded confetti. And the secret she'd buried? It wasn't just the money. It was Tommy. Our Tommy, Elena's little brother. Dead at 16 from leukemia because we couldn't fund his experimental treatment in time. I'd signed off on rerouting those exact dollars to his care, only for her to siphon them away for investments. She'd let him die to chase her American dream, then pinned it all on me when the guilt got too heavy. You were always the face, Bryn, she'd sobbed in court, crocodile tears glistening. I trusted you. I set the glass down harder than I meant to, the liquid sloshing like my pulse. Misunderstanding? You let me rot. Elena. For what? Your fancy office in the Loop? The TED Talk on ethical disruption? She leaned forward, elbows on the counter, her voice dropping to that conspiratorial whisper we used to share over midnight confessions. Listen, I came here to make it right. That's why I'm back. I sold the startup, big payout. I want to give you half. Start fresh. Us against the world again. Like old times. Half. As if dollars could stitch up the hole in my chest where trust used to beat. But I played along. Because revenge isn't served cold, it's marinated. Slow cooked until the meat falls off the bone. Old times, I echoed, forcing a smile that felt like glass in my mouth.
Sure.
Tell me more about this payout. She launched into it then, the floodgates of her ego creaking open. The startup, EchoForge, had ballooned into a tech darling, AI for philanthropic optimization, irony so thick you could choke on it. Venture capital from Silicon Valley exiles, board seats for Elena, the golden girl who rose from the barrios of Pilsen to penthouse views. She'd flipped the narrative, the plucky Latina entrepreneur who overcame systemic barriers, conveniently omitting the barriers she'd bulldozed over friends like me. As she talked, I nodded, laughed in the right places, even refilled her glass when it dipped low. The margaritas were strong, tequila from that bottle we'd smuggled back from Cabo. The one with the scorpion in it. Fitting. By the third round, her cheeks were flushed, words slurring into boasts about her upcoming gala, a black tie affair at the Art Institute, where Chicago's elite would toast her comeback story. The theme? Resilience in the face of adversity. She'd be the keynote. Of course. Sharing her journey on stage, microphone in hand. That's when the hook sank in. You know, I said, casual as a summer breeze, I always envied your voice. The way you could command a room. Remember that open mic at the Hideout? You killed it with that old Joan Baez cover. Elena beamed, swaying a little.
God. Yes.
You were there, heckling from the back like a pro. Said I sounded like a chain smoker gargling gravel. We laughed about it for weeks.
Lie.
I'd been the one on stage that night, nerves jangling. But she dragged me up for an encore, shoving the mic my way to loosen me up. I'd choked, voice cracking on the chorus, the crowd's polite claps turning to whispers. She'd spun it later as my quirky charm, but it stung.
Deep.
You should come to the gala, she pressed, eyes lighting up with booze-fueled nostalgia.
Sing something.
For old times. Embarrass yourself like back then. I'll bail you out with a duet if it flops. Her words hung there, a dare wrapped in pity. She didn't know. How could she, while I'd rotted in jail, The isolation had broken something in me, boredom turning to desperation. Then to defiance. The women's choir there, a ragtag group of lifers and short-timers, had become my lifeline. I'd trained under Miss Lorraine, a lifer with a contralto that could shatter glass, belting gospel and blues until my throat bled and my soul mended. Years of scales in a 6x8 cell, harmonies echoing off concrete walls. I'd emerged, not just surviving, but weaponized. Embarrass myself? I murmured, tracing the rim of my glass. Maybe I will.
For you.
She clinked her glass to mine, oblivious. That's my girl. As she stumbled to the couch for a quick nap, I slipped into the bedroom, heart pounding like a war drum. Tucked in the nightstand drawer was the USB drive, the one I'd kept hidden since my release. Recordings, emails, bank logs. Proof she doctored. But tonight wasn't about cops or courts. Tonight was about the stage. Her stage. The next few weeks blurred into a fevered dream of reconnaissance and restraint. I crashed on friends' couches in Logan Square, dodging Mom's calls from her suburb in Naperville, suburban purgatory where she'd raised me and Elena's family after their mom bailed. Elena had been like the sister I never had, sleepovers turning into schemes, our shared foster kid scars binding us tighter than blood. Tommy's death had shattered that, but I'd held on, blaming myself for not seeing the signs.
Now,
I saw everything. I tailed her to meetings in the Loop, blending into the sea of suits and scarves, noting the security at the Art Institute, cameras in the corners, velvet ropes like veins pulsing with old money. Her inner circle, a smarmy VC named Harlan with a comb-over and wandering hands, a publicist.
Mia.
Who ghosted anyone without a blue check, and Derek, her on-again fiancé, a trust fund lawyer who looked at her like she was the next rung on his ladder. They all knew pieces of the puzzle, but none the whole rotten core. Elena texted daily, "Gala invites are gold embossed. You're my +1. Don't flake. Outfit? I'll hook you up something fierce." I replied with emojis and half-truths, feeding her ego while sharpening my blade. I hit vocal coaches in underground spots off Milwaukee Avenue, paying in cash for sessions where I honed not just pitch, but power, the kind that commands silence, then shatters it. The night before the gala, she cornered me at a dive bar in Ukrainian Village, the one with the peeling murals of Cossacks and heartbreak. "Bryn, level with me. You okay?"
You've been
Distant. I nursed a PBR, the foam bitter on my tongue. Just goes.
El.
Tommy's birthday was last week. Hits hard. Her face crumpled. Genuine for once, or as genuine as she got. She reached across the scarred oak table, squeezing my hand. I miss him too. Every day. That's why I'm doing this, the foundation arm of EchoForge. It's for kids like him. Redemption. You know, redemption. The word twisted in my gut like a knife. She'd named the program after him, Tommy's Legacy. Funded with laundered lies. "Yeah," I said, voice steady. "Redemption sounds good." She pulled me into a hug then. Her perfume, Chanel No.
5.
Stolen from my vanity, enveloping me like a shroud. "I love you, Brinley. Always will. Whatever went down. Forgive me." I hugged back, whispering into her hair. "Always. Lies taste like ash, but they burn clean." The gala night arrived like a thunderclap. The Art Institute's grand hall transformed into a glittering cage. Chandeliers dripped light like molten gold, casting shadows on tuxedos and gowns that cost more than my annual rent. I arrived fashionably late. Elena's hookup, a slinky black number from some designer knockoff rack, fitted enough to turn heads, modest enough not to scream desperation. My hair down in waves, makeup smoky to hide the hollows under my eyes. She spotted me from across the room, waving me over like a queen summoning a courtier. "Bryn, you look stunning." Air kisses. Then a flute of Veuve Clicquot pressed into my hand. "Ready to dazzle?" The crowd milled, politicians with practiced smiles, tech bros high on their own supply, philanthropists pretending to care. Harlan sidled up, his breath hot with scotch. "Elena says you're the musical talent tonight." "Don't choke, sweetheart." Derek chuckled, arm possessive around her waist. Mia snapped pics for the gram, captioning later, "Boss Babe Squad Resilience Rising." The MC took the stage at 9 sharp, a silver-haired anchor from WGN with a voice like velvet gravel. Toasts to Elena's indomitable spirit, clips from her TEDx talk rolling on screens behind him. Then, the announcement. And now, a special performance from a dear friend of our honoree, the one who was there from the very beginning. "Ladies and gentlemen, Brinley Harper." Polite applause rippled as I ascended the steps, the spotlight a white-hot vice on my skin. Elena beamed from her table, mouthing, "You got this." The mic felt like an extension of my arm, cool and familiar. The pianist, a ringer-eyed pade under the table, nodded from the shadows. We'd rehearsed in a church basement off Division Street, pouring my rage into lyrics I'd penned on jail issue paper. "This one's for Elena," I said into the mic, voice steady, amplified to fill every corner. "For the sister who saved me, and the secrets we keep to stay alive." The intro chord swelled slow, haunting, like a dirge disguised as a ballad. I opened my mouth, and the room hushed. No cracks. No quiver. Just pure, trained timbre cutting through the air. In the shadow of the skyline, where the promises we made turned to smoke in the wind, and the debts we never paid. You wore my name like a mask. Let the wolves come calling. I took the fall for your fire, while your kingdom kept on falling. Gasps rippled, subtle at first, then sharper. Elena's smile faltered, her flute pausing mid-sip. I locked eyes with her, pouring every note like venom-laced honey. Tommy's laugh in the hallway, fading like a ghost's goodbye. You cached his dreams for your throne, left me out there to die. But the grave you dug was too shallow. Sister, I'm rising through the clay, with a song that's half confession, half the price you'll have to pay. The lyrics unspooled then, verse by verse, the forged docs, the offshore accounts, Tommy's treatment siphoned dry. I'd woven it all into rhyme, public record twisted into poetry, damning, but deniable if you squinted. The crowd shifted, whispers buzzing like hornets. Phones emerged, recording the unraveling. Elena stood, face ashen, mouthing "what the fuck," but I didn't stop. The chorus built, my voice climbing octaves I'd only dreamed of in lockdown. Betrayal's a bitter vintage. Aged in the cell I called home. You built your empire on my bones. Now watch the foundation foam. Here's to the lies we whispered, to the blood we couldn't save. I'll sing your sins to the heavens and dance upon your grave. Harlan bolted midway, muttering to Derek about PR nightmare. Mia's thumbs flew over her screen. Damage control. No doubt. The MC hovered stage left, torn between cutting the mic and the spectacle. But the room split down the middle. Some glared at me, the vengeful harpy crashing the party. Others eyed Elena, questions blooming in their stares. Polarized, just like I'd planned, no heroes. Just humans clawing for the moral high ground. As the final note hung, a high C that vibrated the chandeliers. Silence crashed down.
Then,
Chaos. Applause from the back, where the waitstaff and lesser guests clustered, boos from the front row elite. Elena stormed the stage, heels clicking like gunfire, grabbing my arm. "You bitch," she hissed, close enough for the mic to catch it. "This is my life." I wrenched free, voice calm over the din. "Was it ever yours?
Elle?
Or just borrowed from the dead?" Security swarmed then, ushering us both off stage amid flashes and shouts. In the green room, she slapped me hard, the sting blooming like a rose on my cheek. "You think this fixes anything? You'll go down too, accessory after the fact." But I laughed, low and broken. Already did. 3 years early. Cops arrived 20 minutes later. Statements taken in the marble-floored foyer. Elena spun her tale. Emotional distress. Old grudges. My instability. I handed over the USB, letting the evidence speak. By dawn, headlines screamed, "Tech Darling's Dark Secret, Embezzlement Scandal Rocks Charity Gala." She didn't go down easy. Bail hearings, countersuits, her machine of lawyers churned like a wood chipper. But the damage? Irreversible. Investors fled. The foundation shuttered. Her TED Talk yanked. Harlan dumped her via email. Derek proposed to Mia instead. Elena vanished into a McMansion in Oak Park. Radio silent for months. I crashed back at the apartment, the Polaroids finally coming down. Mom visited, baking her apple pie, Midwestern therapy, and we talked Tommy for the first time without tears. "You did what you had to, Brinley," she said, hugging me fierce. "Pride's a sin, but so's silence." Revenge settled like dust. Job offers trickled in, not from pity, but curiosity. Podcast invites to dissect the sisters' war. I turned most down. Took a gig writing jingles for a local brewery instead. Simple. Steady. The singing? Kept it private. Open mics in basements where the crowd's just drunks and dreamers. Then, the twist, the one that keeps me up nights. Debating my own damn soul. 6 months post-gala. A letter arrived, postmarked from a rehab in Sedona. Elena's handwriting. Shaky, but unmistakable. "Bryn, I won't beg forgiveness. You were right, Tommy's blood is on my hands. But the secret you didn't sing? The one I buried deeper than the money? That experimental treatment? It wasn't just drugs. It was a trial, shady. Off books. Run by the pharma giant that funded our nonprofit. I siphoned the cash, not for startups, but to buy in. To get Tommy a spot. They promised results, whispered cures in boardrooms. When it failed, when he flatlined on that table, I panicked. Framed you to cover the kickbacks.
The bribes.
Kept you clean of the real crime, accessory to manslaughter. You took the fall for me.
Bryn.
For us. And I let you, because losing you both, unbearable. I'm clean now. Sober. Facing trial, real time this time. But if there's a shred of the sister left in you, visit. Let me hear your voice one more time. Not in song. In peace. Elena, I burned the letter in the sink that night, watching the flames lick ink into oblivion. Peace after the slap, the silence, but as the ashes swirled down the drain, I saw it, the twist that blurred the lines. Was I the avenger or the architect? She'd schemed. Yes, flipped faces like cards in a con. But her decisions, controversial as hell, stemmed from a mother's desperation, a sister's fracture. No one right, no one wrong, just wreckage. Do I visit? That's the debate that haunts barstools and therapy couches. Happy ending? Maybe. If forgiveness is the coda. Tragic? If I let the silence sing on. Chicago hums outside my window, rain tapping like unanswered questions. And me, Brinley Harper, voice honed in hell, still deciding the encore. The fallout from the gala didn't just ripple, it tsunamied through every corner of my life, dragging undercurrents I never saw coming. 2 days after the headlines hit, my phone exploded with notifications, texts from numbers I hadn't saved since high school, voicemails from reporters sniffing for the inside scoop. I muted it all, holing up in the apartment with a six-pack of Goose Island and the TV droning infomercials. The world outside buzzed with judgment, but inside, just me and the ghosts. Tommy's faded photo on the fridge staring back like an accusation. Elena's countersuit landed via courier that afternoon, a thick manila envelope stuffed with legalese that read like a bad spy novel. Defamation. Emotional distress. Breach of implied confidentiality. Derek's firm. Of course. The sharks circling their own chum. I flipped through it numbly, the words blurring. Plaintiff seeks damages in excess of $500,000. Malicious intent. Irreparable harm to reputation. Irreparable?
Pot.
Kettle. I called my public defender from the jail days, Lila, a chain-smoking bulldog who'd fought tooth and nail for my technicality. Brinley.
Kiddo.
This is a shakedown, she growled over the line. Jersey accent thick as fog. She's testing if you'll fold. Don't. We countersue on the original's fraud.
Perjury.
Nail her to the cross. But folding? That was never the plan. Revenge wasn't a bonfire, it was a slow burn. Embers glowing under ash. I met Lila at her office in the shadow of the Daily Center. The Loop's concrete jungle where justice gets traded like pork bellies. She chain-smoked out back, Marlboro lights dangling from lips cracked like the sidewalks after winter. Here's the play, she said, exhaling a plume that smelled like regret. We leak the USB to a friendly journo, sometimes. Maybe. Let the public jury decide. But Bryn, this gets uglier. You ready for mud?
Mud.
I'd wallowed in it for years. Jail slop that tasted like despair. Whispers from guards about the charity thief. Ugly was my baseline. Do it, I said. All of it. The article dropped a week later. From Sisters to Scorned, the vaulted secrets of EchoForge. Byline, Javier Ruiz. A cub reporter with ethics and a grudge against tech bros. He'd pieced it together. Tommy's trial docs I'd anonymously FedExed. Elena's emails begging the pharma rep for one more spot. The kicker? A redacted autopsy showing experimental compounds in Tommy's blood. Traces of something the FDA hadn't greenlit. Manslaughter danced on the edge. But Ruiz stopped short, letting implication do the heavy lifting. Elena's camp fired back, press release painting me as the disgruntled ex-partner, clipping audio from the gala where my voice cracked on grave, proof of hysteria. Social media ignited. Team Elena trending with memes of her as Wonder Woman. Caption: resilient queen slays haters. Brinley betrayed countered with fan art of me as a phoenix, Mike as sword. Polarization at its finest. Forums debating if I was vigilante or villain, her savior or sociopath. I avoided it all, diving into freelance gigs to pay Lila's retainer. Ghostwriting speeches for a mayoral candidate, ironic. Penning lines about transparency while dodging subpoenas.
Nights.
I wandered Wicker Park's dive bars, nursing whiskeys at spots like Peace Brewery, where the pizza's deep dish and the crowds deep in their cups. That's where I ran into him, Jax. The bartender with tattoos snaking up arms like kudzu. Eyes the color of Lake Michigan on a stormy day. Harper. Right, he said, sliding a free pour my way. Saw you on the news. That song? Balls of Steel. I snorted, tracing the condensation on my glass. Or just stupid. Pick one. He leaned on the bar, wiping a rag over rings of old spills.
Nah. Raw.
Like that time I caught my ex siphoning my truck for her dealer boyfriend. Confronted her in the lot, rain pouring, her mascara running like black rivers. She laughed, said I deserved it for holding her back, drove off with my spare tire. Left me singing blues to the taillights. His story hung there, a mirror to mine. Jax was ex-army, stationed in Fallujah before PTSD chased him to slinging drinks. We talked till close, his deployments, my cell block symphonies. By last call, he'd scribbled his number on a napkin. If you need backup,
Brinley.
or just pizza, backup. The word lodged in my chest like a splinter. I'd flown solo so long, wings clipped by trust issues taller than the Willis Tower. The trial prep dragged into winter, snow blanketing the city in hush-white lies. Depositions in sterile conference rooms, Elena across the table, composed in pearl grays. Her lawyer, a silver fox named Preston, firing questions like rubber bullets. MS. Harper. Isn't it true you harbored resentment toward MS? Vasquez since college?
A.
Romantic entanglement gone sour. Preston's smirk said it all, trial by insinuation. Elena's eyes flicked to mine. A flicker of something, pity?
Panic?
I leaned into the mic. Voice even. Romantic? Elena's family. Mr. Preston. The only entanglement was her twisting the noose around my neck. Gasps from the stenographer. Elena's jaw tightened, but she didn't correct him. Misdirection. Classic Elena, flip the script. Make me the spurned lover. The press ate it up, tabloids speculating sapphic betrayal at the gala, fanfics sprouting on AO3 like weeds. Lila shredded it in cross. Objection relevance? Or are we airing laundry now? Judge, a no-nonsense black woman named Rivera, sustained. But the damage lingered. A stain on my armor. Nights blurred into rehearsals, not for court, but catharsis. Jax dragged me to an open mic at the Empty Bottle, a punk hole in the wall where the air smelled of sweat and salvation. Sing, he said, shoving a guitar my way. Or I'll serenade you with Metallica covers.
I did.
A stripped-down cover of Hurt, 9-inch nails raw as road rash. The crowd, tattooed misfits and hipsters in flannel, leaned in, silent except for the clink of bottles. When I finished, Jax hooped from the bar, pulling me into a hug that smelled like hops and home. You're fire, Bryn, he murmured. Don't let her dim it.
Fire.
That's what Elena always called me, back when we'd sneak into blues clubs on Rush Street. Me belting along to Shamikia Copeland while she schemed our escape from Foster Purgatory. You're the spark.
Brinley.
I'll be the gasoline. Prophetic. In the worst way. Christmas came cruel. Mom's Naperville bungalow strung with lights that mocked the dark in my head. She and Elena's mom, Rita, the woman who'd fostered us both, cooked tamales and tortoise. The kitchen steamy with spice and unspoken grief. Rita cornered me by the tree, her hands flour-dusted, eyes red-rimmed. She was broken after Tommy.
Mia.
We all were. But what she did to you? No excuse. I hugged her tight. The pine scent sharp. I know. Rita. Love's a bitch. Back in the city, Jax became anchor, movie nights at his walk-up in Bucktown, binging The Wire and debating Baltimore's underbelly versus Chicago's. He didn't pry about the suit, just listened when I vented, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my palm. Intimacy. Tentative as a first snowfall. Then, the bomb. Subpoena for Elena's pharma ties. Lila's contact, a whistleblower ex-employee, dug up emails proving the trial's illegality. Kickbacks funneled through Heartbeat Heroes. Manslaughter charges loomed. Federal now. Elena's bail revoked. She landed in county. The same hell I'd tasted. I visited once. Against Lila's advice. The visitation room, plexiglass and despair. Phones greasy from desperate hands. Elena looked smaller. Orange jumpsuit swallowing her frame. Hair limp without product. Bryn, she breathed, pressing the receiver to her ear. You came. Not for hugs, I said, voice flat. For answers. The letter. What's the angle? More games? She shook her head. Tears carving tracks. No games. Truth. I protected you from the feds, from knowing you'd greenlit a killer trial. We were desperate.
Bryn.
Tommy was dying. I thought. Miracles happen in boardrooms. Protected. The word curdled. By framing me, letting me think I failed him.
Har sob crack Adeline.
I hated it. Every day. But you were free, outside, building something. I couldn't drag you down.
Free.
Jail's irony. Locked doors. But mind unchained. I'd sung through bars. She'd schemed behind them. Who protected who? I sold everything, she whispered. Proceeds to the victims, Heartbeat families.
Tell them.
I'm sorry. I hung up when time buzzed. Her pleas echoing.
Outside.
Snow swirled. Jax waiting in his truck with hot cocoa. How'd it go? Complicated, I said, sliding in. Like us. He kissed my temple. Engine rumbling to life. Complicated. The word fit. Our nights tangled in sheets. His scars mapping mine, the trial twisting like Lake Street traffic. Spring thawed the case. Plea deal. Elena copped to fraud. Accessory, 5 years. Minimum security. No manslaughter, the pharma giant's lawyers buried that deep. At sentencing, she faced Judge Rivera. Voice steady. I built on lies. Let them crumble. I testified victim impact. Lila coached. But I ad-libbed. She was my sister. Still is. In the broken places. Mercy. Your honor. For Tommy's sake. Rivera eyed me sharp, then nodded. Suspended sentence on the fraud, probation. Restitution. Elena walked. Ankle monitor beeping like a heartbeat. The press called it Chicago's forgiveness saga. I called it unfinished. Summer hit humid and heavy. Jax and I road tripping to Galena for a weekend, wineries. Bluffs overlooking the Mississippi. We talked futures, him opening a bar, me studio work, maybe an album. Your voice, he said, wine loose on a porch swing. It's a weapon. But it could heal too.
Heal.
The gala's echo lingered, debates in diners. Strangers buying my drinks with that took guts, or you're toxic. Polarized. Perpetual. Then, the real twist, a package at my door. Unmarked. Inside, a demo CD. Elena's scrawl on the sleeve.
Our song.
Co-write? Tracks played, her voice. Fragile but fierce. Harmonies I'd recognize blind. Lyrics about graves and graces. Betrayal's bridge to something like absolution. I burned it too.
Or tried.
The player looped. Her plea and melody. Sing with me.
Bryn.
One last time. Jax found me there. Dawn breaking. CD smoldering. What now?
Now.
I said, pulling him close. We write our own. But the debate? Eternal. Vengeance's cost. A crown of thorns. Or keys to the kingdom. Chicago pulsed on. And I, Brinley Harper, sang into the void, waiting for the chorus to clear. Probation suited Elena like a hair shirt. Itchy. Unflattering. But she wore it with the same grit that got her to the top. First month out. She texted coordinates. A coffee shop in River North. Neutral ground amid the brunch hordes and Botox smiles. I almost ghosted. But curiosity's a crueler master than fear. Jax drove me. Idling curbside with a text if it's weird and a kiss that tasted like coffee and caution. The shop was a hipster haven, exposed brick. Pour-overs priced like therapy sessions. Elena waited in a corner booth. Hair in a messy bun. No makeup. Athleisure screaming reformed. The ankle monitor peeked from her sock. A digital leash in plain sight. Bryn. She stood. Hesitant hug that I sidestepped into a nod. Thanks for coming. Don't thank me yet. I slid in opposite. Ordering black coffee, bitter. No frills. What's the play? Absolution hour. She stirred her latte. Foam heart dissolving. No play.
Just. Talk.
Like before.
Before.
The word some inspectors. Late nights plotting heartbeats launch over white henny in the apartment. Tommy's chemo infusions turning into game nights with contraband Uno. Before the money vanished, the frames tightened. We talked surface first, weather, humid hell. The Cubs slump, predictable. Then deeper, Rita's health scare, benign. Thank God. Mom's new book club, rom-coms. Naturally. Elena's restitution checks cleared weekly. Funneled to families we'd failed. It's not enough, she said. Voice cracking. But it start.
Start.
My turn. Jax. The bar dream. Vocal coaching a kid from the South Side, talent named Kia. Voice like thunder wrapped in silk. Teaching her control, I said. So, she doesn't shatter everything she loves. Elena's eyes welled. Like you did me.
Ouch.
Fair.
Though.
The gala's shard still cut. Her invites dried up. Harlan's VC firm blackballed her from deals. She tempied now. Data entry for a non-profit, irony's gift. Crashing with Rita in Pilsen. I deserve it, she admitted. The fall. But Bryn. The trial docs. That farmer rep? He called me yesterday. Threats subtle. But there. Quiet money for silence. My mug paused. Blackmail? After everything? She nodded. glancing over her shoulder like shadows had ears. They're scared. The demo I sent had backups, recordings of their pitches, promises. If it leaks, leverage. The kind that could topple empires. Or bury us both. Why tell me? Because you're the only one who'd believe it. And fight.
Fight.
The old fire flickered. Us against the machine. Foster kids punching up. But trust? Fractured fairy tale. I need time, I said.
Standing.
Don't push.
Outside.
Jax raised a brow. She looked like the devil? Worse, I muttered. Buckling in. Family. The whispers started that week. Anonymous emails to Lila. Drop the pharma angle. Or Harper's next. Vague. But venomous. Jax installed deadbolts. Taught me pepper spray grips. Ain't letting you solo this, he grumbled. His army edge sharpening. I dug anyway. Old habits. Public records on the trial. Buried in FDA footnotes. A Phase 1 anomaly with 0 follow-ups. The rep. Victor Hale, LinkedIn ghost. Now consulting in the Caymans. His emails to Elena. Spot secured. Wire the incentive. Discretion assured. Incentive. Euphemism for blood money. Elena and I met again neutral. A park bench in Grant Park. Tourists milling like oblivious extras. She handed a burner phone. Preloaded with files. Don't open here.
And Bryn.
If shit hits, run. Paranoia bonded us. Fragile as wet paper. We walked the lakefront. Wind whipping off Michigan Avenue. Sharing silences heavier than screams. Remember prom? She said suddenly. You in that thrift gown. Me spiking the punch. We danced till dawn. I smiled. Ghost of a thing. You stepped on my toes. Called it Latin rhythm. Laughter bubbled real. Rusty. For a heartbeat. We were us again. Then. The call. Hale's voice. Distorted. Vasquez. Loose ends get clipped. Starting with your ballad buddy.
Clip.
The word echoed in nightmares. Tommy's monitors flatlining. Jail doors slamming. I ghosted Elena. Blocked numbers.
Told Jax we needed distance.
This deeper than revenge. I confessed over takeout lo mein in his kitchen. It's war. He pulled me onto the counter. Hands framing my face. Then we fight smart. Together. Together. The words scared me more than threats. Vulnerability's sharpest blade. The leak happened mid-July. Heat wave turning the city into a skillet. Ruiz's follow-up. Pharma Shadows. The deadly trial behind Chicago's charity collapse. Sourced anonymously me. Via Dropbox. It cracked the vault. Hale's pitches. Elena's wires. Tommy's talks report screaming experimental overdose. Pandemonium. SEC probes. Congressional hearings. Hale's Cayman Villa raided by feds in tactical gear. Elena testified first, remote. Voice steady on C-SPAN. Desperation blinded me. But the real crime? Profit over kids. Her face filled screens. Gaunt but defiant. Protests bloomed outside pharma HQs, moms with signs. Not one more Tommy. I watched from Jax's couch. Gut twisting. Hero or heel? The line blurred daily. Hale's team retaliated. Smears on Elena, addict. Opportunist. On me, jailbird jihadi. Out for payback. Forums lit up. Death threats pinging my inbox. Jax moved me to his place full-time. his bar gig shifting to nights so he could bodyguard days. Intimacy deepened in the siege, lazy mornings tangled, his whispers chasing shadows. "Love you, Bryn," he said one dawn, sunlight slanting through blinds. Fire and all.
Love.
I echoed it back, but doubt gnawed. Could I burn without consuming? Elena's invite came encrypted. Safe house. Wicker Park. Need you. Against Jax's protests. I went dusk. Hoodie up. Slipping through alleys like a stray. The apartment. Stripped bare. Rita's tamales cooling on the counter. Elena paced. Eyes wild. They're coming. Hale's cleaners hired muscle. Files are out. But they want the originals. Originals. The USB's ancestors, hard drives. Stashed in a safety deposit box under my name. Why me? I demanded. You held the fall once, she said, grabbing my arms. Hold this. For Tommy.
Tommy.
The name undid me. We plotted. Decoy drop. Feds tipped anonymous. But as sirens wailed distant, Hale's goons kicked in, 2 bruisers in polos. Tasers humming. Chaos. Elena swinging a lamp. Me channeling jail yard brawls. Knee to groin. Elbow to throat. Jax burst through, called by my SOS text, tackling the second like a linebacker. Feds swarmed minutes later. Hale's men zip-tied on the rug. Aftermath. Arrests. Headlines hailing Sister's stand. Elena and I debriefed in a holding cell. Ironic reunion. Laughing through bruises. We make a hell of a tag team, she wheezed. Yeah, I said. But next time, you sing lead. Release brought clarity. Charges dropped. Pharma crumbling under lawsuits. Elena got community service, mentoring at Heartbeat's reboot. My oversight. We rebuilt slow, coffee dates turning to co-writes, her demos evolving into duets. Jax proposed that fall. Ring simple as a smile. On a pier at Navy Pier with fireworks popping like punctuation. Marry me,
Brinley.
Let's write the happy. I said yes. Tears saltier than lake water. But the whispers? They linger in quiet moments. Hale's trial looming. Victims' families divided. Forgive the pharma. Or fry them all. Elena and I. Scarred survivors. Debate over wine. Redemption real. Or just rebranded ruin. The loop hums on. Secrets buried shallow. And I sing, louder. Truer, wondering if vengeance ever truly ends, or just harmonizes with grace. Hale's trial hit like a Midwest blizzard, slow build. Then whiteout fury burying everything in its path. Federal courthouse in the loop became ground zero, protesters chaining to pillars. TV vans idling like predators. Air thick with chants and coffee breath. Elena and I got subpoenaed as key witnesses, our testimonies slotted back-to-back like reluctant bookends. Prep with Lila and her team turned into war room marathons, sleepless nights in high-rises overlooking the Chicago River. Flipping through binders thicker than Bibles. You're the human element, Lila coached. Pacing in heels that clicked like metronomes. Not just Doc's heart. Make and feel Tommy's laugh. The betrayal's bite. Heart. Mine was a patchwork quilt now, Jax's steady stitches. Elena's frayed threads. Mom and Rita's warm wool. But testifying? Ripping seams wide open for strangers in suits. First day. Security wand us like royalty, Elena's monitor long removed. Replaced by a scar like a badge. The courtroom, wood-paneled hush. Jury box filled with everyday folks, teachers, mechanics, faces etched with the city's grind. Hale sat at the defense table. Silver-haired fox turned cornered rat. His lawyer a shark named Kensington with a drawl that dripped oil. Prosecution opened strong. Exhibits of wires. Pitches. Talks reports projected huge on screens. Then Elena, oath sworn, voice steady as she recounted the desperation. Victor promised hope. We were drowning in bills. In grief. He threw us a lifeline laced with poison. Cross-exam. Kensington pounced. MS. Vasquez. Weren't you the architect? Embezzling for your startup dreams? Elena didn't flinch. I was lost. But Hale? He profited on pain. Millions while kids like my brother slipped away. Murmurs rippled, jury leaning in. Hale's jaw ticking. I watched from witness sequestration. Gut churning. Her truth. Half mine. Half hers. Flawed. But fierce. My turn came post-lunch. The room stuffy with tension. I approached the stand legs jelly. But the second I gripped the Bible, worn leather. Ghosts of perjury's past, something locked in. I do, I said, clear as a bell. Prosecutor Ramirez. A Latina firebrand with a prosecutor's poise. Led gentle, the non-profit's birth. Tommy's fight. The discovery of the siphon. How did it feel? Ms. Harper. To learn you'd been framed. I met the jury's eyes. Cross-section of Chicago. Black mom with kind creases. White retiree with skeptical squint. Like drowning in Lake Michigan. Cold. Endless. But Elena. She was family. I took the hit because love blinds. Then Kensington. MS. Harper. Your gala performance, vindictive theater. No, humiliating MS. Vasquez, publicly? The question hung. Baited. Flashbulbs popped outside. But here, silence begged my answer. I leaned forward. Mic catching every syllable. Vindictive? Maybe. But truth's a spotlight. Mr.
Kensington.
It burns the lies first. Objection overruled. The jury shifted, some nods. Some frowns. Polarized. Per usual. Hale glared. But his eyes? Hollow. The mask slipping. Recess brought chaos. Reporters swarming the hall. Mics thrust like spears. Jack's body blocked. Arm around my waist. No comment. Assholes. Elena joined. Our trio a united front, sisters. Lover. Survivors. Afternoon dragged. Hale's defense crumbling under whistleblowers. His consulting, a front for slush funds. Closing, Ramirez painted him as the devil in a dealmaker's suit. Profit over purity. Let justice be the antidote. Verdict next morning. Guilty. All counts. Sentencing in weeks. But the win tasted bittersweet. Tommy gone. Hale caged. But the void? Eternal. After. Elena and I celebrated low-key. Deep dish at Lou Malnati's. Sausage and cheese a greasy hug. We did it, she toasted with root beer, probation perk. For him. For us, I corrected. Jack's clinked glasses. His grin wide. To messy miracles. Messy. The word defined our reboot. Weekly songwriting sessions in the apartment. Now ours joint, Elena's sublet turning permanent. Tracks evolved, blues folk hybrids about fractures and fixes. Her contralto weaving with my soprano like old wounds scarring pretty. Jax's bar. The Anchor. Open Labor Day weekend in Ukrainian village, hole-in-the-wall charm. Craft taps named after scars. Betrayal bitter. Redemption rye. Grand opening. Me on a makeshift stage. Elena harmonizing backup. Crowd packed. Locals. Trial junkies. Kia's family cheering from the front. We debuted Oath's Echo, our co-write, versus Trading Betrayal's Barbs. Chorus a call to carry on. The room swayed. Beers raised. No booze this time, just unity in the unease. Post-set. A woman approached mid-40s. Sharp bob. Eyes shadowed. Emily Hargrove. Heartbeat parent. Lost my girl to that trial, same batch as Tommy. My stomach dropped. Elena froze. Flute midway to lips. Mrs. Hargrove. She held up a hand.
Soft.
Heard your testimonies. The restitution helps. Funds her memorial scholarship.
But I came to say.
Forgive you. Not easy, but necessary. For peace.
Peace.
She hugged us then. Brief but bone deep. Vanishing into the night like a benediction.
Not all were so kind.
Online. The divide deepened. Subreddits dissecting our redemption arc as PR spin or genuine grit. A podcaster cornered me at a gig. Brinley. Was the gala empowerment or exploitation? Be real. Both, I shot back. Life ain't binary. Jax proposed anchoring that stability. Wedding plans sketched on bar napkins. Small. Courthouse with peer after-party. Mom officiating in her Sunday best. Rita baking tres leches. Elena as maid of honor. Full circle, she joked. Pinning my trial dress. From orange to this? From ashes, I replied. But circle snag. Hale's appeal dragged into fall. Appeals court sniffing technicalities. Then. The gut punch. Leaked audio, Elena's voice. Pre-gala. To Hale. Bryn's clueless. Keep her out. She'll crack under pressure. Crack. The word reopened scars. I confronted her over phone. Voice steel. You sold me out again? Static. Then sob. Desperation.
Bryn.
He threatened Rita. I stalled, bought time for the leak. Swear.
Swear.
Trust's fragile reed. I hung up, storming the anchor. Jack's mid-pour. Need space. He nodded. No push.
Take it.
I'm here. Space meant wandering. Midnight trains rattling to the south side. Busking for bus fare under L tracks. Kia joined once. Her teen fire matching mine. Auntie Bryn. Why forgive if it hurts? Wise beyond years, I said, handing her the mic. Because holding hate? Heavier than any chain. Reconciliation brewed slow, Elena's apology handwritten. Dropped at the bar. I flip faces when scared. Working on it, in therapy. AA. Let me prove. Proof came Thanksgiving. Rita's table. Extended family crammed elbow to elbow. Elena helped plates. Stories flowing, Tommy's pranks. Our foster fails. Laughter bridged gaps. Pie sweetened the peace. Winter wedding, flurries dancing as Jax and I vowed in City Hall. His eyes locked on mine. Through fire.
Brinley.
Always. Reception on the pier. Fairy lights twinkling. Elena toasting. To the sister who sang me back from the edge. Love you, Bryn.
Love.
Echoed back.
Genuine now.
But the ballad's not done. Hale's appeal denied. Life in Supermax. Victim's suit settled. Heartbeat reborn under our watch. Yet debates rage. Dinner parties probing. Was Elena's flip heroism or hubris? Jax and I counter with shrugs. Human. Broken ballads mend crooked. But they sing sweeter for the seams. Chicago's skyline watches. Unblinking. As I, Brinley Harper, harmonize the hurt into hope. One note at a time. A year post-trial. The haunting softened. Not gone. But ghosts more like old neighbors than poltergeists. Heartbeat Heroes relaunched with a gala of our own. Not black-tie bombast. But community cookout in Humboldt Park. Grills smoking ribs. Kids in superhero capes chasing fireflies. Stages for local acts. Elena and I emceed. Trading mic time like truce flags. No spotlights to burn. Just string lights and sincerity. You nervous? She asked backstage. Adjusting my blouse, simple sundress. Jax's pick. About singing in public again?
Nah. Lie.
The crowd held faces we'd failed. Hargrove family front row. Emily nodding encouragement. But nerves? Butterflies on steroids. Our set. Acoustic duo. Covers laced with originals. Oaths echo encore. Crowd joining chorus. Voices rising like a wave. No booze. No walkouts. Just connection. Raw and real. After, Emily pulled us aside. Her son's hand in hers, survivor. Thanks to new funds. This heals, she said. What you started. Heals. The word anchored as Jax and I settled into married blur, his bar thriving. My vocal studio booming, Kia my protege, booking her first paid gig. Elena dated Cautious, a graphic designer from AA. No red flags yet. We triple dated sometimes. Laughs easy over IPAs at the Anchor. But haunts whisper. Anniversary of Tommy's death. Elena and I at his grave in Queen of Heaven Cemetery. Snow-dusting headstone. Miss you. Squirt, she murmured. Laying daisies. I sang soft, somewhere over the rainbow, voice cracking on the bridge. She joined. Harmony hesitant then sure. Think he'd be proud, she asked, wiping sleet from marble. Of us? Hell yeah. Messy, but mighty. Mighty. The gala's legacy lingered, podcasts inviting us for redemption roundtables, universities courting for ethics lectures. We co-authored an op-ed for the Trib, from betrayal to bridge building, lessons in accountability. Polarization peaked in comments, heroines versus hypocrites, but we tuned out, focusing on forward. Jax's surprise hit spring, weekend in Door County. Wisconsin, cheesy as the curds. Perfect. Cabin on the bay. Kayaks slicing green water. Bonfires where he pulled a box from the flames. Tommy's old harmonica. Elena's gift via Rita. Play, he said, passing it. Rusted, but warm. Notes wobbled out, blues scale. Soulful. Jax harmonized hums. Our laughter echoing off pines. That's you. Bryn. Turning rust to gold. Gold. Alchemical as love. Elena's twist came summer. Pregnancy test positive. Designer guys ring following. Auntie Bryn. She beamed over brunch at and Sathers. Cinnamon rolls, sticky sweet. Think we cannot fuck this up? I teased. Hand on her belly. I've got dibs on godmother. Mom and Rita planned baby showers like generals, neutral tones. No drama. But debates crept in. Family dinners probing. Can you really co-parent after? Elena and I shrugged unison. Blood's thicker. So's choice. Fall brought Hale's final appeal. denied cold. Appeals judge citing egregious malfeasance. His suicide note leaked. Regrets to the families. System failed us all.
Failed.
The words sparked forums anew. Farmer reform bills named Tommy's Act. Elena testifying in D.C. Me remote support. Winter wedding anniversary. Jax and I renewed on the pier. Snow globing the skyline. Elena, round with promise, sang backup, our trio unbreakable. Yet the final twist? It slithered in quiet. A letter from county jail. Hail cellmate. Penitent proxy. Victor confessed off-record. The trial? Not just profit. Cover for black market trials. Donors high-placed. Your leaks? Tipped the dominoes. But watch your backs, strings still pulled. Strings. Puppeteers in shadows. D.C. to Delaware. Elena paled reading it. Hand protective on bump. Fight or fade? Fight, I said. Jax nodding fierce. Smart. Together. Together, lawyers retained. Leaks prepped. Allies amassed. Ruiz. Lila. Hargrove Network. No grand gala revenge. Just steady siege. Songs as shields. The debate indoors, cocktail hours. Car rides. Was our vengeance justice or vendetta? Elena's scheme salvation or sabotage? No absolutes. Just shades, gray as Chicago fog. Rich as deep dish crust. Hauntings harmonize now, Tommy's laugh in baby's kicks. Betrayal's bite dulled to lesson. I, Brynley Harper, stand center stage. Mic in hand. Jax's ring grounding. Elena's voice blending. The song? Unfinished symphony. Controversial chords resolving to grace. Or so we hope. The spotlight waits. And we sing on you, am. Tense. Triumphantly American. Into the endless encore.